Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. I'm Atik.
And I'm Naila.
We're both professional registered homeopaths and between us have over 25 years of professional practice in this field of healing.
The Homeopathy Health Show is the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcasts around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing and healthcare, which is suitable for all ages, young and old.
Every week we invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights and essentially talk all things homeopathy.
Visit www.ukhealthradio.com to listen now. To find out more about us, you can visit us at www.homeopathyinpractice.co.uk, and whilst you are there, do subscribe to our newsletter.
Be inspired
and join the conversation.
So let's begin today's show here on the UK Health Radio Network, the world's #1 talk health radio.
Real feel-good radio.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. I'm Atik.
And I'm Naila. Welcome everyone.
Well, what do we have for you today? Well, all I can say is we have a living legend, and that is just so sublime in itself, is it not? But before we go to that, I do hope you've had a pleasant week, and it's been quite nice here at this time of recording. We've had a nice summer, actually. We're sort of coming to the tail end of it, but it's been very warm, and it's strange, isn't it? Because as soon as the sun comes out, the majority of people smile, and you know, when people smile, it just is so nice, isn't it? Everybody's so happy. And then winter hits us and then everybody just doesn't want to talk to each other. But hey, that's life, isn't it? Those are the seasons. There are 4 seasons. There's not just summer and winter. Autumn. Oh, I do love autumn, actually. It's so nice, isn't it? When the leaves change color on the trees and you can just look and, oh, it's fantastic, you know, fall to the ground. And, you know, it's nourishment for the soil, isn't it? It's just amazing, isn't it? This God-given gift of nature. And we take it for granted sometimes, but I tell you what, you know, I was on social media as I was, and there was this post about hugging trees. And you know what? It's so true to ground yourself, to walk on grass in the morning, barefoot, without socks on, to be able to just take it all in. You know, that first initial deep breath. I remember a few days back when the moon was just glimmering and it just takes your breath away. And these are the things, you know, that help ground us and make us more in touch with nature. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that, is it? Because in the majority of places we live nowadays, we're just so rushed. Everything is a rush and so many decisions and so many ups and downs. And, you know, if you want a white knuckle ride nowadays, it's not a roller coaster, it's just life, right? But we need to touch base with nature. We need to explore, we need to ponder, and we need to reflect. Anyway, that's enough about that. Let's move to our guest, and that is none other than the very respected Dr. Massimo Mangialavori. He is a doctor, he is a researcher, and one of homeopathy's most original voices. Woohoo! Now, he is known for his method of complexity. I got it right. Dr. Massimo does more than observe symptoms. I might need a remedy there. Dr. Massimo explores the interconnections between the physical, the emotional, cultural, and even philosophical dimensions of remedy themes. And we are going to talk about that, ladies and gentlemen, in today's episode. And we are also going to talk about Suggesta, which is a homeopathic repertory that Dr. Massimo is working on. Dr. Massimo, from myself and Naila, welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. It's an absolute honor, delight, and we send you virtual hugs.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm very honored.
Brilliant. That was a bit long, though, wasn't it? I did go on a bit. I do apologize, but you know, hey,
yeah, it's that time of the year where I was saying to my friends, in UK you can see all 4 seasons in one day, and that's why all the UK people go to Italy for their holidays, where they can witness more sun.
Yeah. I was there a few years back, Bologna. Then we went to Rome, but we were so happy to go back to Bologna because it's just too busy. Talk about busy, you know. But which part of Italy do you reside in?
I live very far away from people. I live
Okay.
in the middle of nature, almost in the middle of nowhere. Actually, it is an old volcano, which was the holy mountains of Etruscan people. It is called Mount Amiata. It's between Siena and Grosseto. It's
Wow.
a very special place of Italy because it's extremely quiet, full of animals, full of nature around. So it's a very, very peaceful place, what I need to work and to study.
Is it somewhere near Tuscany?
It is in Tuscany, the very south of Tuscany.
I went to Tuscany and I went to San Gimignano.
Yeah, it's a little bit far on the.
It was very beautiful. The world's best ice cream is sold there.
Is it really?
Yes.
Cream
Oh.
in Italy, it's a kind of religion.
Or maybe that's just love the ice cream and the sun. Has to be there, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I think I remember when we went there, it was I probably had more ice cream than meals, but it was many years ago, so hey.
Can be a good meal if it is the proper time.
Okay.
It's so wonderful actually to have you on, and we have a number of guests come on, and you will know many of them. And they've been on the Homeopathy Health Show, and we've been. You'll definitely know Knorland,
Yeah, very well. A good friend.
Manny, and we were also talking to Marco recently, and we were talking about your good self as well. But I wanted to ask you actually, just to start this conversation off rather. You've done a lot of work on this method of complexity, and for those homeopaths, so the show, a lot of homeopaths listen to this show, a lot of home prescribers, the students, authors, lecturers, homeopaths themselves, generally the ones that we all sort of know and learn from. It would be really, really nice if you could just break down this method and the inception point. What made you come up with this thought process that resulted in this method of complexity?
Okay. I try to do my best. As you can understand, it's not so easy to describe a method in few words. First of all, the concept of complexity is not mine at all. It was in my opinion, not only my opinion, the most gigantic step forward of the last century. So it started with many scientists, Maturana, Varela, Edgar Morin, and many others. And it was a gigantic step forward in science, not just in homeopathy, not at all, in many fields of science, in medicine, in biology, in chemistry, in philosophy, in economical, and many other things. Which means structurally that you observe every phenomenon, considering that what is much more important are not the observation of some elements, some most important elements of your observation, but what is much more important is which kind of relationship does exist between these observations. So not just listing them, but trying to understand how they work together.
Hi everybody, we do hope you're enjoying this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show with Dr Massimo Mangialavori. Now there's some really, really good news, which is that Dr Massimo will be teaching 4 online sessions of 2 hours each on a new masterclass called Gaseous Substances, Remedies Without Form, available exclusively from the School of Homeopathy. In this masterclass, Massimo combines outstanding homeopathic knowledge with his medical expertise. Add this with his passion and, of course, engaging style, and these sessions are sure to be fun, inspiring, and memorable. Check out the dates in the description below and also the booking information. Don't miss out. This is an exclusive masterclass with the legendary Dr. Massimo Mangialavori.
What is interesting, in my opinion, is that this gigantic change in the way of thinking was so important for many fields of science, while in conventional medicine it seemed to be exactly the opposite. While many other sciences were moving in this direction clearly, openly, in the case of conventional medicine, it happened exactly the opposite. If you can see what's going on all over the world, there is a movement back, which means that instead of open to the complexity of reality, to the issue that there are many things to observe and to try to understand how they work together. Now we are entering in this moment where we need guidelines, something which is extremely structural, something that it has to be like this and not the other, something that is flattening what should be the way of thinking of doctors. What is important is this concept of a defensive mechanism where it is not possible to discuss that much. There is one reality, one kind of diagnosis, one kind of prescription, and that's it. So, as you know, homeopathic medicine since the very beginning struggled to cope with the conventional medicine of Western countries. But I think that in the last years, this discrepancy is becoming deeper and larger. Just because, in our observation as homeopaths, I think that since the time of Hahnemann, homeopathy was a medicine of complexity. For the very simple reason that when you work seriously, it's important to observe few elements, to combine these elements together. If a patient is coming to ask you some help for a disease, what you need to do, every good homeopath does it, is to watch this person, first of all, according to his context, according to his complexity, let me repeat it, and to try to put these elements together, to try to understand what is more specific of this person and not what is absolutely informal of this disease. So Hahnemann did that long time ago. Let me say that when you talk about the concept of complexity, it is a discovery, something that already existed and you were able to recognize. It's not an invention, which makes a big difference.
That's amazing, because in this world where we are living, everything is so complex. We are complex individuals, and then taking that kind of complexity and making into one whole, seeing where the similarities are, where that thread is woven in that person, even if it is in his pathology, that is going in his mental emotional symptoms, maybe how he perceives his environment. That is his complexity that is coming to us as his world that we are going to discover, and then we are going to find that pattern into the nature.
I think so. And I repeat, I'm not the only one or the first one who is underlining these concepts. I'm just someone who is introducing this into our culture, into our homeopathic perspective. Let me say, I repeat, that I respect a lot these theories. I use that since the very beginning. But what is much more important, let me repeat, is that this kind of vision of complexity was already in the root of homeopathic medicine from the very beginning. So this is the reason why I say it is discovery. It is not an invention. It is not something new. It's the recognition of something that Hahnemann discovered and recognized more than 200 years ago.
Of course, everything is there. There are so many teachers who bring a concept, but it is upon us, if the concept that we have taken and then we explore it further and bring it to the world, what you have done. And I think that is what you have also done with the families, the groups. Like you have worked so extensively with some of the families in the nature, like the spider remedies, the mammals, the solanaceae. I'm very much interested in solanaceae nowadays. So can you go and tell us the journey that led you to exploring those families, and how did you wove all those threads together to find the theme?
Yeah. So, in science, as in philosophy, there are, if you want to make it simple, how we can observe what is around us. You can use a method that is called deductive, or you can use a method which is called inductive. Inductive means that you observe what is around you, and after the experience that you make, you arrive to certain conclusions. The opposite is when you think about certain conclusion before, and then you try to demonstrate this. In my case, of course, when I was a student, it was evident from other very good homeopaths from the past that they were able to observe that certain remedies resemble each other. In many books, you can read this. When this remedy doesn't work, think about this other. If this remedy did a good work, this other follow as, and something like this. It is a normal to consider that if we do not think about remedies as just names, but if you remember, first of all, that every homeopathic remedy, first of all, is a substance, is a living organism. It's hard for us to think about something living when it is a mineral, for example, but it's not like this. They are living organisms too. They have a different kind of living event. If you remember that, of course, these substances, first of all, meant to us as human beings something. This relationship is what can be seen in many fields of observation. This experience can be done when you make a proving. This experience can be done when you relate to this substance and you study this from the toxicological point of view, from the pharmacological point of view. But even when you write a poem, even when you are in some way captured, when you are interested in something that you see during a beautiful walk on a wood, if a certain tree, if a certain plant, if a certain animal, if a certain rock that you see in some way is touching your fantasy, is inspiring you, that means something, because there is always a relationship between us and the rest of the world. This relationship can be explored in many different fields, in many different ways. In my approach, what I try to do is not only to try to understand as much as possible the results of our homeopathic studies, but I think it's important to confirm it, investigating other fields of knowledges. So, for example, you mentioned something about the spiders before. I think it is so interesting that if you consider just the substance from the point of view of the intoxication, if you study the poisoning of a bite of some of the spiders that we have in our materia medica, you don't see anything which is worse than a wasp bite, okay? But it is so interesting that if you study the myth of those spiders, which is coming from Magna Grecia, so more than 2,000 years ago, the description of what is the meaning, what is the idea, what is the archetypes of this spider in that culture is exactly what we can demonstrate, what we know, what we study from our patients treated successfully with the spider remedy. And it is so beautiful because this is not an invention, this is not a fantasy, this is something else that does live in this spider, which is beyond just the poisoning of this experience, which is something that has much more to do with, I insist, how we as humans relate to that. So it was also well known in Greek time, something which has to do with this idea, that they invented a kind of drama, a kind of dramatic experience to treat girls with certain kind of problems, making them behave as if they were bitten by a spider. And if you move forward, what was the well-known anthropological studies about this beautiful tarantism, which was the experience of these mainly women in the south of Italy that were pretended to be bitten by a spider in order to express a certain kind of behavior and problems in that specific cultural context. This is so interesting because what you can observe about this behavior has a lot to do, resemble a lot, extremely a lot, to what we see in our spiders patients. So beyond the fact that this observation does exist, I am interested in trying to understand why, what does it mean, what is the significance of this. And how interesting is that a substance, any substance, not just the spiders. In the case of the spider, I wrote a book on that just to demonstrate how easy is this observation, how in every substance you can see much more than what is just the toxicology. And this is again leading to the idea of complexity, because it's another piece of what we can observe that works together to the other in order to give a clear picture of what it is.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because with what you're saying, and we know where when remedies are sourced, and all around the world, we're looking at different, species of plants, and we're looking at insects and mammals and whatnot. And it's fascinating, isn't it? How you can also almost acclimatize those remedies to where they are brought, where they are born, literally, and how that can affect. It can be both ways, right? How the actual species can be affected by the culture or the surroundings of nature and that bubble, or how they can affect others. So it's fascinating, isn't it, how that is, because that means there is, look, I give you the might be a crude example, I don't know, but local honey example, it's supposed to be good for local allergies, right? Hay fever and so forth, and other such allergies. But it's amazing, isn't it? Because when you look at where arnica is grown, or if you look at any other flower or plant or mineral, how it has that affinity for that area, right? That's one of the reasons it was there in the first place, right?
I agree with you, but let me say something else, not to context, of course, but to add. I think it depends on the level of our observation, because at the end, if you think about the reason why certain poems, certain books are actual after 2000 years, if you read what was written, what can I tell you, in India, in China, in South America, in Europe, in North America, from centuries ago, certain kind of the main problems of human beings are not so changed. What can change is the dress of this, the outside of this, but the basic of our existential problems, I think, are more or less the same from the time of Homerus. So when you read about the story of the Odyssea of Ulysses, you know, it is so actual. And why it is so actual? Why many beautiful books written in different epoch of our history and in different countries can be so actual today? Because they are dealing with the main important features of our existence. So I think that, of course, if you think about a therapy, if you think about a treatment, as you said, for an allergy or whatever, something, let me say, more superficial, I completely agree with you. In your country, where do you live, you find what is important and useful for the people in that area. Because, again, according to complexity, you see that if the life was able to develop in a certain way, it's because there is a system, an entire system that lives together. Of course, if you enlarge this perspective, you can consider a system which is in your vegetable garden, which is in UK instead of Italy, which is in Europe instead of Asia, which is in Earth instead of Mars. It's another level of complexity. So I mean that at the end, the main basic important problems of our existence are not so many and are more or less the same in a kind of transversal way.
I have a question now according to this. Like, I totally, completely agree with you that the basic needs or basic level of complexity is the same as it was 2000, 4000, 5000 years ago. There was always this, we as humans, as plants, as animals, the process of evolution has always had some central themes or some central desires that made people evolve, like security, structure, and living with one another, each other's needs. The even in modern society, what we see, maybe the attire has changed, maybe the words have changed, how they present their complaints, but they're coming with relationship issues existed in the past, issues with parents, issues with this existed in the past. But there is something that is changing as I feel like my house was smaller some years ago, 2000 years ago. My house has become bigger now. My world was my village. Now my world is the whole earth. And I am moving from the soil of this country to the soil of another country, and I'm marrying someone who is coming from a very different background. And the complexity is becoming even more complex because the the basic needs were different in his culture and in my culture. And the kids nowadays, with all the new development happening, they are also bit confused because the everything is changing so quickly, so frequently. So how do you see this? What is your perspective about this changing dynamics, this changing culture, this?
I personally have the impression that all these changes again are there. Of course, I totally agree with you. But if you clean a little bit your observation, what you can see beyond that is not that different, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I think that, as you said before, our basic needs, the issue that you have to confront yourself with this discrepancy between what you feel and what you perceive, between this discrepancy with the issue that getting older, you become wiser and your body become worse, and all these kind of things is more or less the same since thousands of years, even in Neanderthal people, I guess.
Mm.
So, of course, if because we're talking about homeopathy, but also from the philosophical point of view, if you remember what Hahnemann said, that our goal should be to help our patients to reach the highest purpose of his existence. At the end, think about this. It's a beautiful path to do this experience together with your patients. And at the end, you can see that it's not that difficult from what was seen from our masters 200 years ago and from other observer of human beings thousands of years ago. You can read beautiful poems of Marco Aurelio, beautiful poems of Rumi, beautiful poems of different fantastic authors. At the end, they're touching your soul because they're telling you something which is true.
Mm,
It was
Yeah.
written 2000 years ago.
absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Love those because again, something that you mentioned, when we go out in the nature and we see something, like four people will be walking in the nature and they will see something different. You will see what resonates with you. So even when reading those poems, reading that or those old scriptures, you what you perceive is your complexity,
I,
is what you read from Rumi, and what when it speaks to you, how it speaks to you, it is you. Wow, I'm fascinated actually.
spectacles that you use to watch this reality, the ear you put to hear this reality and so on.
Yeah,
Filter, that is you.
have to go to the core, and then the basics are actually the same. Even if I see kids in the today's world, they are talking to each other over the screen. There are so many servers where they connect, they make friends. If we go back, it is actually the same, where people were sitting under the tree, talking to each other, having that tea. The desire is the same, the connection that they are longing for.
From this point of view, I don't want to be provocative, please, but encourage our conversation. It is true that many things are changed, that are faster, but on one hand, there is something that we have the impression that we gain. On the other, think about many things we're losing.
Yes, we are
Mm,
I live in a little village far away in the mountain in the countryside. I can tell you that when I have to consult kids of this area, they are totally different from the one that I saw in Bologna.
yeah.
mm,
So now kids play with the cat, with the dog, They like to jump on a tree. They like to run. They like to make this kind of playing together out of the house. Can you do this now in London? If you leave a boy on the street, they can be run over.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not possible
Exactly.
to have a direct connection with an animal which is living in the nature, and to play with that, and to play with the stick, and to invent something, because this is something on which you can use your fantasy.
Mm.
So, well, how many things we are losing with this
Yes.
running and these too many things altogether? I'm not that sure that this is necessarily an improvement.
No, I don't. I absolutely agree with you. I see this as well in today's culture. Like kids are confined in a place where they are encouraged to play, but that play is also in a box, confined in four walls. That yes, this is your boundary. Don't go, because beyond this boundary is danger. And in old, even 20 years ago, when I was born, I was living in a village. The first 7 years of my life, I still miss those years because I was exploring what is beyond those boundaries. I was trying to climb that tree.
Yeah,
I was falling down, but still trying to climb that tree. Do we do it nowadays? Living in a city, like climbing a tree is something.
Seen
It's
as
a big
boring.
skill now. Even though
Yeah.
that was everyone was doing that, but it is a skill now.
this is what I'm telling you. You have a delusion that now you can so easily catch a plane and go to London so easily as I catch a train to go to Naples, when I was young. But at the end, how much of this can be explored? How much
Yeah.
is available for each one of us?
Mm. There's so many leaps and strides, like you so beautifully said, in humanity. Again, if it wasn't for technology, we would not be communicating, right? Otherwise, we would have to get on a plane, etc. But it's that thing, isn't it? That life-old thing. And I started off by saying, hugging a tree and being grateful for the moon and looking up and looking at the flowers and the plants. And people used to laugh that off. Of course, they say, what are you talking about? What nonsense, hugging a tree or just sitting in a park and looking at flowers? What does that even mean? More and more people are now understanding that. That's the time to ponder and reflect and reset yourself, and be
I
grateful
agree.
for the things,
I
right?
agree. I agree.
You know, and
And
where you are
this is
must be.
why I live where I live. At the beginning, many patients even told me that it was a kind of a bombastic attitude because, it's easy to reach somebody who is living in a town.
Mm.
But the more they started to take their car and drive 2 hours to arrive here, the more they can see that the doctor, at the end, in my opinion, sorry, it's my very personal point of view, theoretically speaking, should be an example of,
Mm.
of health. So if you say to your patients, don't smoke too much, don't drink too much, don't eat too much, and these kind of things, and you live in the same negative place.
Mm.
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 Place where I lived before, close to Bologna, as you said a few minutes ago, is one of the most polluted area of the planet, not of Europe. So
Mm.
why can you start to think, can I do something to improve my life? Can I do
Mm.
something to improve the life of my kids? Is it
Mm.
really necessary to spend 3 hours every day on a tube to go to work? It is really true that I cannot do
Yeah.
anything better in my life?
Mm.
I've noticed. So I have to travel. Sometimes I have to travel up north, for work, right? And it's different. I change halfway through that journey because the tension and the stress that comes from London changes, and you become not a bit, you become calmer, and there's more greenery, and the roads are, there's much less traffic, and you think, this is nice. And I laugh saying this because I was going through it literally yesterday. Uh, and I was thinking myself, this is very strange, these emotions that I go through, because it's like it's a journey. You are on an autobahn, you're on a motorway, but it changes because everything opens up, and as you reach your destination, things become wider and less congested, right? And it's like, wow, this is nice,
I agree.
interesting, isn't it?
Think how often patients can tell you this. When I need vacation, I need to stay in the nature, I need to move out. So why cannot you consider your life that can be a better vacation
A
Yeah.
better vacation, right?
than a
Yeah.
stress.
Oh wow,
Life at the end is what you want to be, so
Yeah.
you can
And
change.
as hey, Dr. Massimo, as homeopaths, anyway, because majority, let's say, except for when we teach and whatnot, is done online, right? So we can technically live wherever we want now, can't we? I'm thinking I should move.
Great. And I love this. I am very in favor of technology. But
Mm,
homeopathy. Think about this. If you think about what a wonderful homeopath of the past, which I love, which is Clark. Okay.
mm,
Clark, at this age, at this time, was able to write a beautiful dictionary of materia medica, 3 volumes. You know this very well in UK. That was done using letters, not more than letters.
mm.
Okay. Writing letters to other homeopaths and collecting their information. That was done more than 100 years ago. Now we don't have only telephones, we have emails, and nobody is able to do the same kind of work that he did 150 years ago. Why?
Mm.
So is it really improving the quality of the information of the quantity of the data, which is different? So it's
It
not
is.
true that having more data means better information.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Oh, you got me there because this is what I was thinking. We have everything on our hands, all, but in a fast-paced life of a city, like, I cannot live in a city. I told my husband I don't want to live in a city. At the outskirts, it's okay with kids, they're going to school. But when we have everything on hands, but we cannot actually produce that quality of work. We do not have that peace of sitting back, relaxing, and producing a poem. Even though the yearning is there, the desire is there, but there is so much distraction that we cannot focus on that one point where things develop, where our imagination takes a form of words or a form of a form of creation, because there is so much disturbance. So we do have to go back and see, are we what are we prioritizing? Are we actually living life, or is the life consuming us?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, so wonderfully said. Even though we are not talking about, okay, we're not talking about remedies, families, but this is what is basic that we need to know. The complex nature of the human being, and why, what is the need, what is the desire of getting this technology, that technology. Okay, I need to know this, I need to know this. And in now there's so much information out there that I have to like filter it out in few words because I don't have the time to do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Which
I'm
actually,
not blaming technology, please.
No, we're not blaming technology, not
no,
at
no.
all. This is good. That's why we are
Mm.
here. It's
Yeah.
like moderation is the key. Moderation. Everything needs, if we eat too much, what will happen? The moderation goes and we'll have so many health issues. If we sleep too much, if we talk too much, or if we stay silent too much, everything has an impact. And if we use the technology too much, that will have an impact. So what we are talking here is uh, everything is good. Technology and that whatever has been developed is brilliant creation, but we do need to find where the moderation lies. Ooh, middle path, the path that is meant to be the golden path.
Which actually aptly takes us on to your repertory, which is called Suggesta Homeopathic Repertory, which you've developed, and it's based on your experience, on your clinical experience over many, many years. So please do share. It would be wonderful to know why, how, and what.
And I must say, I love your repertory. I have Radar Opus, and I have exclusive exclusive. I have forgotten the word, but it is very exclusive to me because I'm working with Radar Opus and I have synthesis as well. It just brings cases to life when you know, okay, this is someone who has worked with these remedies, that if he's saying that this remedy is in this rubric, it means something, and I'm using it. I'm using it day in and day out. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, again, we can say this with many words and very few sentences. Of course, the already existing repertories are excellent work. The aim of these repertories is to do a very precise work in seeking in our literature what was precisely said, bring this into our repertory. This is the goal of this. I tried, because this work was already done, of course, to do something a little bit different. First of all, as I said before, at the time of Kant, at the time of Hahnemann, it was necessary to have more information because it was the beginning. I think that now homeopathy, as many other science, is facing the big problem of the big data, of too many data, which doesn't mean, as I said before, better information. So I don't want again to appear provocative, but are you really convinced that our future of homeopathic doctor is to keep making provings, to keep adding new remedies and so on in our repertoire instead of trying to know better what is already there? Because at the end, the same kind of stimulus, because we are working not with an identical energy, but with a similar energy, can be done using many different products. This is the reason why in my concept of homeopathic families, I include different kingdoms, different substances, not things that belong to already existing taxonomy. So the work of Suggesta is mainly a clinical work. I added from my database the information that I observed when I prescribed a remedy with a long follow-up, at least 4 or 5 years, where it was not necessary to change the remedy because it was really deeply working. It doesn't mean that I am stubborn. I mean that when I have cases like this, I use this material as the best possible one. So when I'm able to collect at least good stories, good information, because I take my case verbatim and I write in my data case verbatim this information from at least 4 or 5 patients with 4 or 5 years of follow-up without changing the remedy, where the remedy works in acute and chronic condition. I used to add this in my own private repertory. It was the fault, let me say like this, of David Workington years ago. He was my very best friend. And when he discovered that, he told me, but Massimo, why don't you give this to our community? I said, I did this work for me, not for others. It is for my own personal use. And he said, you must share it. So we started to share just this information, and little by little, they became so much, then we started to consider a new way of thinking about a repertory, which is mainly a clinical work, which means to try to shrink this extensive amount of data to the few ones that are really meaningful. Because at the end, if you know the remedy, the repertory is not necessary, first of all. And second, what you are seeking in a repertory, it is something that should help you to make a differential diagnosis. So information that tell you is this remedy instead of this other. And now our repertories are redundant of data and very poor, I insist, in information, according to my point of view. So the main differences in that is that in Suggesta, there are many, many, many symptoms like this. So consider that more or less, again, I don't want to look presumptuous to you, but I work decently with 700 remedies. I have good material collected for 700 remedies. And I added in Suggesta something about 120. So you have still a lot of work to do. Adding remedies in existing symptoms and adding symptoms that were missing. First of all, because now we have a different vocabulary, and then because we can observe things that at the time of Kant were not observed at all. Remember that they didn't know that ovulation does exist. So they didn't know the existence of virus and bacteria. They didn't know many things that are still missing in the repertory.
Exactly, yes.
So this, I think, has to be updated, not only confirming what is really important, but also with what you can observe today. So not just in terms of the diseases, but also in terms of symptoms and observation that today we do and are not in the repertory. And even if this can in some way be against my work, which is not, the repertory was mandatory, not just necessary, at the time of Kent, because at that time they had only paper, which is a lot. I prefer to read the book on paper than online. But think about, with our technology, with our great advantage of technology now, we could skip easily the repertory. So if Kent was born today, in a moment where using a good database, you can go directly to the sources, to the cases, to what is in the book, instead of scattering all the symptoms in order to make them fit to a book that we call repertory. It should have been much better. So very probably having a direct access to our literature in terms of books, articles, journals, cases, which is still the most important issue, it is much easier. So very probably, I guess, in the future, the repertory will become a book like another, a book that is giving you suggestions. This is the reason why it is called Suggesta, and not the book, because the book does not make any sense in the few years, will not make any sense in the few years. We can
It's
overcome it very easily.
it's very interesting what you said, because me and Nyla we talk homeopathy all the time, of course. And we were having this conversation just a few days ago, weren't we, Nyla, when I said that if I used a certain remedy and it was appropriate and it worked for, I don't know, 100 of my patients out of 100 who had a certain condition or a certain symptom, which was not mentioned in the repertory or in Materia Medica, who's right and who's wrong, right? Because we are proving remedies as time progresses, right?
Of
So
course,
that doesn't mean that we are wrong. And because I know homeopaths do have this fear that, oh my God, no, but it's not in the book. So you've got clear evidence in front of you of 100, for example, 100 patients who've responded, they've become well, and you're still questioning yourself. It doesn't make any sense.
this is, I think, one of the greatest disease of homeopathic doctors, because they have a difficult relationship with their father. So they had a difficult relationship with Hahnemann, and they think that whatever is written by that is a Bible. The repertory is a book. It's a simple book full of mistakes. Can be better done. We have to work to improve it, but it's not the book. It's one of the possible books that has to be adjusted, reviewed, corrected, and written again. So, as you say, you are very right. One of the problems is that too many of us consider the book as if this is the truth. It's not. It's again a suggester. And this is the reason why my repertoire is called Suggesta.
Love the name.
It does not have to be the truth. You know what is the truth? The truth is the patient who is going better.
Yeah.
This is the real source of information, not what we think it should be. And from that, we should collect information, which is still one of the most important missing feature in homeopathic medicine and in homeopathic community in comparison with others.
Yeah, I remember a conversation actually, Nyla, I share with you as well. This just came to my mind now that a few years back, somebody, I don't know who I was sharing with, and we were talking about a remedy, and it was like, oh yeah, this works for such and such, and it's worked so many times, it's never let me down. It's like, no, but it's not indicated here. And it was that you know that feeling of shock and disbelief that, oh my God, what have you done? It's like, well, I did what was right. I mean, hello.
Right as you are,
You know,
I see.
I didn't know it was the book was the Hippocratic Oath. I didn't realize. I'm sorry, I signed it.
The truth is our experience. And
Yeah.
if you've seen this more than once, please, we need to know that in order to improve our prescription on the basis of your observation too.
Amazing. This is so beautiful to learn from the
Mm,
legends, because this is what happens. We as humans, tend to hold on to something. It gives us this security. Okay, if I'm holding on to this book, I can't go wrong. Or if I'm holding on to this one, I can't go wrong. So some just go with one and some just go with the other. If it is written in Murphy, that is the one that I'm going to. If it is in Fatak, yes, that is I'm going to give. If it is not there, I'm just not going to prescribe the remedy. But the remedy is speaking to me. The person is written evidence of the remedy that I want to prescribe, but his physical ailments are not mentioned anywhere in the book. What do
You
I
know
do?
what? Let me say something.
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward to this. Go on.
I think that a great step forward in science of the last century, in quantum physics and also in the theory of complexity, was to recognize that we have constantly to deal with probability, not with security.
Mm.
And thinking and talking about something that belongs to human beings since ever, as we said before, is the capacity, is the ability to confront yourself with mysteries, with what is not known, with the issue that every patient is a new patient, is a new experience. Every time there is a new gentleman, a nice lady sitting in front of you, it's a new experience. It's not already thought, it's not already done. Every time you have to do with a new patient, you have something which is not in the repertory, which is not in every homeopathic book. So the capacity to stand it in all your life, as a doctor, as a scientist, to recognize that we have to cope with mysteries, not just the mystery of dying and existing, the mystery of being born, but the mystery of what is around us. If you're not able to cope with it, and you keep hoping that there is any security, mostly in science, it's better to change your work. Become an engineer and not a doctor.
Mm. Also, it's I don't know if you, I'm sure you've experienced this, but sometimes the remedy hits you without the books, and it stays with you. You know that feeling, that gut feeling we call it, right?
Yeah.
And you look through all the books, and they don't. It's like, oh no, it's not, it's not. But that feeling, I've found, if you follow that, that's all is right. It never lets you down. It just doesn't. And that doesn't mean, yes, I know my remedies. Not at all. You can never know all your remedies. It's not possible. But it's amazing, isn't it? This process of the doctor-patient, the practitioner-patient relationship, and the literature that you read, and how how our mind as practitioners work. Because it's processing, isn't it? It's analyzing and it's speaking to you.
If you think about this, I think that this is the essence of medicine. If you study what is written in some beautiful books of Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, Western medicine, and so on, in many medicines all over the world, you can see so many contradictions. A method telling something that is the opposite in the other one. But if you think about what is really in common since ever, when there is a process of a medicine, there is a patient and there is somebody who has the delusion of being able to treat him. So this interaction is the only medicine that does exist since ever. And this is the most important issue. This is the most important thing. We believe that we understood what's going on, what is that, but I think that still we're very far away from understanding what does it mean when two people meet each other and where is this connection. I'm not talking about anything magical, please. I mean that something happens together with what is happens. You can use a lancet, you can use a drug, you can use an homeopathic medicine, you can use a needle, you can use just your hands, you can use your words. But this interaction is fundamental. And through this, you can pass, adding to that many other issues that can be remedies and whatever. But if you're not able to recognize the power, the existence of that, and what is it teaching, because if you work as a good homeopath and you already prescribed phosphorus plenty of times and it works, when you see a phosphorus patient, you feel it, but it's not because you are a magician, because you recognize this. If you drink a beautiful glass of wine, the second time you recognize that this is a good glass of wine and not an orange juice. Okay, it is the same when you have in front of you such a patient. It is touching a chord of yourself that you know what it is. So why you have to believe that this experience is less important than what is written in a book?
It's it's being free, isn't it? It's being free. And I see that we both see it in you. Being free of that thought and that structure, and you just go with that flow, and it's so important. But something you mentioned about two people connecting is quantum entanglement, because you mentioned quantum mechanics and what.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've got so much to learn. Oh my God, it's amazing, isn't it? So much to understand.
Beauty of this life from my point of view.
Beauty of life. I have to say, when there is these are powerful words. Two people meet. Why am I going to this practitioner and not that practitioner? And something has to happen in that conversation, a connection that will lead me, that will help me to find something that will help that person who is here to ask for help. When I am sitting with someone, and I'm perceiving they're coming, they're sharing something, and I cannot sometimes feel the energy or the vibration that would click with me, and I would ask, I'm a believer, I believe in God, I would ask silently, God help me, what do I need to help this person with? And something happens at some point that I get those goosebumps, and I write it down in my consultation papers. Here the goosebumps happened, there is energy there is vibration there, let's go and ask the questions. And sometimes that leads me to, might be not the remedy, the right remedy or something, but that will something that the person needs at that very time. And that helps them, that helps me think myself as, okay, I have to be there for them when they need me, and I rely on, I am here after doing whatever I've done in my life for a reason. Let's just believe in that time and in that reason of being there for them, and just be there, just be yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It was really
Wonderful. It's Dr. Massimo, it's been an absolute pleasure. We are at the end of this episode. It's just been I tell you what, that was a very deep and real conversation. Absolutely loved it, the beauties of homeopathy from a living legend. Okay? It's been an honor, absolute honor. And I would say on behalf of myself and from Nyla and from the listeners of the Homeopathy Health Show, and if I may be so bold, from all the homeopathic community, thank you for everything that you do, because it makes a big difference to people's lives, right? And it makes a difference to our lives. It molds us, helps us to become better. And that support that you give and the knowledge that you share. So we honor you and we respect you, and we say thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting. Whenever you have a very good seed, if you don't have a good soil to put it, it doesn't matter. So it's important both.
Thank you.
Thank you. That
was Thank you for your invitation. Grazie.
Thank you for your time. It was beautiful. It was wonderful to talk to you, to connect with you. We are ever so thankful.
Whenever.
I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Tune in every week for inspiring conversations, bringing you all things health and well-being to your radio and podcast apps.
The more exposure the Homeopathy Health Show receives, the better for homeopathy around the world.
And please do support the show by clicking follow on our socials.
You can find us at www.homeopathyinpractice.co.uk and on Facebook and Instagram at Homeopathy in Practice. Do give us a follow on there. Let's promote the voice of homeopathy around the world together. Until next time, stay safe and take care.